We begin in Russia, where a court has sentenced U.S. journalist Evan Gershkovich to 16 years in a penal colony. The announcement of that verdict came suddenly this Friday after a speedy, closed-door espionage trial denounced as a sham by the United States. The 32-year-old Wall Street Journal reporter denies any wrongdoing. He was detained in March of last year, becoming the first U.S. journalist arrested on spying charges in Russia since the Cold War. There's speculation that the trial's swift conclusion could clear the way for a prisoner swap between Moscow and Washington, though the Kremlin has denied to comment on the possibility of such an exchange. For more, we can bring in our chief foreign affairs editor, Robert Parsons. Rob, what else can you tell us about this verdict and about this trial?
Well, not an awful lot, because we don't have an awful lot of information. We don't know what the espionage charge, for instance, amounts to. We're told by the foreign minister of Russia, Sergei Lavrov, that the evidence is irrefutable, but it's not been presented to anybody to judge on that. You know, as far as we can tell, as the United States government has said, as the Wall Street Journal has said, and as his family have said, this is just a sham and a disgrace. The man was there to do a job. He's accredited with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Russia. He was working for the Wall Street Journal on a story in Yekaterinburg, about 1,600 kilometers to the southeast of Moscow. Just working on a story as usual. But the problem, though, here is that he was working on a story that touched on the Russian military. He was looking at the production of a tank factory about 70 or about 100 kilometers north of Yekaterinburg. And, you know, in a country where there is no tradition of investigative journalism, you know, that sort of investigative work, which in the West would be regarded as entirely legitimate, can easily be interpreted as espionage. And that seems to have been what happens here. There also seems to be a willful decision on the part of the Russian authorities to use Mr. Gershkovich as a bargaining chip, as has been accused by the United States government and others. Not the first, of course, and probably won't be the last, but that seems to have been what's happened here. As you say, though, at the moment, he's got a 16-year term in a high-security penal colony. The conditions will be pretty awful there, so it's not a prospect for him to look forward to in any sort of way. Very grim indeed for doing something which, you know, objectively speaking, amounted to just doing his job as a journalist.
And this trial felt very, very rushed, but could that actually be a good sign for Gershkovich?
Well, there's been speculation that could be the case, yes, because normally speaking, with these sort of espionage cases in Russia, they take from anything upwards of 4 months, even as long as a year. So for this to be rushed through and brought forward, you know, in less than a month, does suggest that things are moving fast on it. Bear in mind, too, that not very long ago, in an interview with an American TV personality, Vladimir Putin said that there is a chance that an exchange could be agreed, that the two security services of their respective countries were working on that possibility. The man they had in mind is Vadim Krasnikov, member of the FSB, the Russian security services, arrested, charged, sentenced, put in prison 4 years ago for the murder of a Chechen in Berlin. You know, so two completely different categories of people there. One charged with murder, another one just doing his job as a journalist. But that seems to be the way things are moving at the moment. And the suggestion, too, is that, you know, the reason the trial has been and the verdict's been brought forward is because it's impossible to do a swap and for Vladimir Putin to issue a pardon unless a verdict had already been reached. Now, he's been found guilty already, so therefore, in theory at least, a swap could be arranged.